Good morning, traders and investors. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Pre-Market Prep. If you bought the dip on Friday, are you selling the rally on Tuesday? Tariffs, no tariffs, folks. We're trying to get back over 5,900. Pindo Duo earnings, we'll talk about that. That's not really important. What's important is what Japan's doing over there to their global bond market. What else are we going to cover? We are going to cover Nvidia earnings coming up later on the week. Julie Gillespie joins us at 8:35 from TipRanks. So we got a lot to cover on this pre-market prep.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble. Joel's on mute. Mute trick.
How did that happen?
You look like
Come
you were
on.
saying something really cool, though. So I'm quarterbacking here today. I'm here, but I'm in the background. So I'm going to be helping you guys out and popping in every once.
All right. That's the only mistake of the day. S&P's up 83 handles at 5,950. Wow. What a 140 points off that low from Friday. The buck up 28 cents, 99.29. Japan helping the global bond market up 74 cents, 84.29. USO slightly in the red, 67.76. Not good news for the gold market. GLD down 643. Silver, that's down 34 cents at 30.11. And Bitcoin futures hovering at the 110 level, up $860 at 109,745. We will bring Christian Fromhertz to the stage. And the most important question that we have for Christian is, did it rain in Saratoga this weekend?
It did. Good morning, guys. You got to keep the streak alive. Rain or some type of precipitation since November, so you got to keep the streak alive. I will say this: it did get nice towards the end of the weekend, and hope everybody had a real nice day off and happy Memorial Day.
Okay, real quick before we go into our chitter chatter here, CRM. Now this was rumored on Friday, right? CRM is making a deal. They are going to buy INFA. This was rumored. This was out there. $25 is your price. You see the pop at this point. They are not worrying about it for CRM. Not worried about the deal. They're still up $1.37, but we'll get some more details on that. So. Christian, so what Friday? Tariffs. Sunday? Right. No tariffs.
Well, I mean, I think the news that we saw on Friday morning, it to me just felt like, I don't know, it was kind of like we've seen this before, and Bessent came on and basically quieted it down a little bit and said that, hey, we've got a lot of other deals that are in the hopper, a lot of other talks that are going well. So, I hate to use this term, but it did feel like a lot of the art of the deal type of stuff going on. It seems like we're getting this where if a country or two is a little bit too slow to come to the negotiation table, right, there's going to be some angry tweets about that, and that's, so it's kind of the storm, and then the calm comes afterwards. With over the weekend, I think that we heard that the two are going to be coming to the negotiating table, the two sides, and making trade talks going well. Trade talks are going well.
I looked at that Apple news. Of course, it came out, and just you look at a timeline on things, and it really wasn't any new information. What I think angered Trump is that earlier in the day or early in the AM, Tim Cook said, "Hey, we're going ahead with this $1.5 billion expansion of plants." And so what Trump came out and said was, "Oh no, I mean every iPhone needs to be made here is a 25% boost." So I mean it was kind of old news out there. We talked on STN, we talked a lot. We're like, Apple will eat 25% on iPhones before, when are they going to build factories? They're not going to build factories here until they have robots doing it. So
Right.
Apple bouncing back today up 324. So open into support on Friday. We could go over the technicals on that later. We are now going to take a quick break and bring in our global bond expert, Christian Fromhertz, and he is going to talk about Japan and stabilizing its debt market. And he's going to talk about the short and long term implications for the U.S. bond market and U.S. stock market.
Well, thank you for that intro. I don't think I can live up to that. I'm not a bond expert, but know enough to kind of get by a little bit on what's going on with the bond market. And we had a bond auction last week that did not go very well. By the way, we have three bond auctions this week. We have the two. Let's just bring up the economics. We've got we've got the 2-year bond auction today. We've got the 5-year bond auction tomorrow. So, and then we have the 7-year bond auction later. I believe. Oh, sorry. We have the 2-year and the 5-year. And the 7-year, which will be later in the week. Yeah. So, that was kind of the one thing that people really kind of noticed last week was that we had a bond auction that did not go well. And this kind of stems from a couple of different things. It stems from, there's a possible new deal that we've got with the government. But also there's been a lot of volatility coming out of the Japan bond market. And they've been issuing a lot of bonds. So the fact that there's a headline over the weekend that they might be pumping the brakes on their issuance, which is, when you have more and more supply that comes on in the market, like you had last weekend, bond auctions are a regular thing, and I think it was something like that bond auction last week brought it was the like second or third biggest volatility on a bond auction. So when you've got a lot of debt and, you've got new supply coming on, it's an issue. So the fact that Japan may not be bringing on as much supply in their market helped their market in essence, is causing bonds to rally a touch here this morning.
Yeah, and I think also if there's less issuance coming out of Japan, perhaps it takes a little, people that are allocating to the bond market. So a little bit less selling of U.S. bonds, perhaps to buy Japanese bonds, and just overall more to bid. I mean, technically, I mean, look at it. I mean, the TLT came down to just a major area that we had in 2023. I think Triple D or someone pointed out that there was also another low in this area back in no, that was it. That was the 23 lows. So, I mean, risk reward down there was pretty good. I did see some, of course, everyone on Twitter was buying bonds down there. But nice move here, up 75 cents. I'm not really seeing any economic data this week to upset the apple cart. We have in 2 weeks, of course, we have the CPI and the PPI. We don't know if things are really going to shake out with inflation by then. The only thing today, 8:30, we have durable good orders, not a huge mover. Fed speak, not, whatever they say, they say. The GDP on the 29th, which is Thursday when I do my math, and then core PCE later in the week too. So we do have some economic data, nothing right now, not the major numbers. So not much in earnings, but we need to talk about overnight. Pin Duo. Let me bring up the $24. I thought down 17 was a lot. Pin Duo. Buck 56 versus 249. Miss on revenues 13.18 versus 14.17. That is a slacking. We are down now under $100 in Pinduoduo. Step down sellers. Christian, what's your take on Pinduoduo?
That's a big red line to the downside. They have not been they've not been a name that has really been kind of leading over in China. It's been pretty quiet. Like I don't in terms of this name. Like I haven't had a there hasn't been a lot of social media on it. There hasn't been a lot of interest in this one. So not a good quarter there. Reaction moving down to 95. Let's see if there's any support down there. Um, maybe some support, I would say down at the 90 level, but like I said, I mean, when these names do this, they kind of are dead money for the quarter. So, not great numbers there.
I would say, if you went short, I'm not going to do deep technicals on this, but if you went short or had some puts or something, well, you just got a gift there. I don't trying to think Baidu. I mean, there's just no rhyme or reason to this. Baidu had a good report. It popped and then it dropped. Baba, I did see some news on Baba. Baba's, I tell you, out of all of them, Baba looking the best here. We could talk a little bit of crypto here, and Trump had a meeting with Michael Saylor and Ryan Cohn, and he decided that he's got to start raising some money to buy crypto. Going to the crypto book here. DJT trading up 246 in 2018. We've heard this before. Plans to raise $3 billion to buy cryptocurrency. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Nice move. Looking for a catalyst for his own stock, and he gave it using crypto.
Yeah, I mean, you got a nice little bounce here, up to $28. That clears the range of where it's been, and the stock's been trading around like 26 to 24. So gets it kind of out of that range. A little rejection there up at $29.
Yeah.
So maybe this gets the stock going a little bit, but again, another stock that really hasn't been that much hasn't we haven't heard too much about this. You do have a nice move in cryptos this morning though. You got Bitcoin back up to 9/10 of a percentage point. So Bitcoin, if you remember going to last week, Bitcoin did break out to new highs. Did not close the best on Friday, but I have to tell you, like this is a nice break higher in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin and some of the other cryptos actually moving up pretty decently, I think is a pretty good risk on sign that we've got for the market. And if you look at Ethereum, Ethereum is actually did not take out last week's highs, but is up about outperforming this morning, up 3%. So that's something that I would be paying attention to. Right around this, let's see, do I have the right crypto thing up here? Let me see, 1 second. Um, yeah, I would be watching 2,600 in Ethereum, and that might be a level to kind of turn the corner in Ethereum, which has been underperforming up until
Yeah.
about 2 weeks ago.
Well. Also, I'm looking. Boy, they really juiced this thing in 2021, so that's going to come nowhere near back its all-time highs. So, don't know if the catch up trade there for Ethereum, but trading up nicely here. I think GME. I mean, that's getting the boost here, right? 2 day rally turns into a 3 day rally. Uh, Crypto moving up. I haven't even really seen that many. Well, I'm not on Twitter that much, but nice move here, GME. MSTR has been a little bit puzzling here. Had a long consolidation period, then broke down on Friday, trying to recapture. So let's see if that was just a little flush out on Friday and continuing higher with
Yeah, it
MS.
hasn't. It's a great point to bring up MSTR because that sometimes leads moves, and it's been leading actually to the downside, or I should say, it just hasn't been participating. So, I think that's puzzling is the right word to describe it. I think a lot of people are also puzzled that While Bitcoin is broken out, MSTR, which you
Hmm.
think is kind of a leveraged, somewhat of a leveraged play on Bitcoin, has been kind of stuck in the mud and actually broke to the downside. So I think today will be an interesting day for this, considering that Bitcoin is up again. Is this thing going to continue to underperform, or was that a shakeout on Friday?
I say 400. I mean, you can see a lot of lows, up and down right in that area. Gap down. I would say the bulls will be back in full control of MSTR. You get back above 400. It's up. It's actually quite a ways away from there. Trading up. Let's get the pre-market action in here. Boom. There you go. Trading up, but nowhere near that area where it broke down. Late news on Friday, and this is one stock I'm going to be kicking myself about. U.S. Steel, the deals were off. The deals were off. It tried to go down. It tried to go down. It didn't go down. And what do you know? You got a deal, or not a deal, a partnership between Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel. I believe 54 is the takeout price. I 54. If you're buying at 54, unless you think there's going to be an amendment to the deal that makes it more than 54, then it's going to be hard to make money. Right now, trading at $52, you have a little bit of time premium. I don't think you have to worry too much about this deal going through if Trump has endorsed it. So U.S. Steel, not really understanding the full implications of this. Need to modernize those factories, spend some money. I think it all depends on, do we need steel? Are we building? Are we not going into a recession? But Christian, is there any steel stocks that you like to follow? STLD's trading up a buck 56. I know Dennis always talks about new core. Do you think that this could be I mean, obviously these are big companies. Could this lead to any more consolidation in the steel industry?
No, I mean, I think this is a one-off. I mean, this has been up in the air for I guess we're going by for years now. At this, is it years? Maybe not. Maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic. But this has been overhead on U.S. Steel for a while in terms of what's going on with this, and it does make sense that it's more of a strategic type situation partnership rather than a
Hmm.
takeover. So I think I mean, I think that this is mainly a one-off. If I were to be looking in this group, I would probably be looking at something like CRS, which has done very well. It's Carpenter Technologies. Not so much. I mean, I don't think that
Oh,
this.
that
Yeah, I mean, I think
How
that
do you do
this.
it, Christian? You like I talk about a sector, I talk about the implications, talk about good stuff, and you bring up the stock that's trading at basically all-time highs. You are the relative strength king there. I mean, look at that. I never even heard of this stock, but holy macro, look at that chart. I stand corrected. I believe that deal's at 55. So if you're buying it at 54 and you want to hold it through the deal, boom, there you go. But boy, CRS, wow, wow, what a move in that. Let's see, did we get AZO yet? AutoZone? Do we have AutoZone out? If it is, no one's trading it. I know they're due to report this morning.
Yes,
Yep,
they did report. Yep.
they missed 35-36 versus 37-17. Sales beat 4.46, 4.35. Boom, boom. Total store update. No one making a move here yet in AutoZone. Didn't someone upgrade this on Friday ahead of the report? So
They
I don't
they
know. You
did,
could.
but they did have good numbers. They're in terms of their sales. Domestic comp sales up 5% versus 0 year over year. Estimate plus 2.4%. International comparable sales were down, but I guess that's not as much. But I mean, this is a stock that needs a stock split. I mean,
Oh, yep.
this is a really tough stock to trade. It's more of a buy and hold, considering that the liquidity in this thing. So, yeah, I don't know if we're going to see much pre-market action in this one. They said our international business also could continue to deliver strong results as the same store sales grew 8.1% on a constant currency basis. While currency rate moves continue to pressure reported sales and earnings, we believe our international operations are positioned well as we continue to focus on opening more stores in these markets. So there you go. some positive. Don't see anything mentioned about tariffs, but maybe you get that on the earnings call.
It's traded down up $30 on odd lots, and the spread is 60 points wide according to Triple D here. So I don't I don't know why you don't split the stock, but whatever. I guess it's cachet, right? To have a higher price stock. So there you go. What was the one that came out of the dumps last week? AAP. Let's just take a look. Oh boy, up 88 cents. Wow, look,
That was a
if you're
huge
trading
move.
this thing, you're looking for continuation rally here. Just keep an eye on this $50 level. You kissed it 2 days ago, Thursday, 50.04. You came up shy here. That was the area of several highs back in late January, early February. So better catch a 50 bid here in APP to keep the rally going. So it's similar to the stock market, right? When stocks open lower on Friday, but it was kind of bad news in your rally. Tesla. No one cares about their car sales in Europe in April cut in half. What they do care about is Musk. He is totally focused on the company now. Trading up 786. The SPOOs being up 84.25 handles certainly doesn't hurt things. Boy, there's an area I call this 350 area. You haven't kissed it yet. The recent high of the rebound 354.99, and then other highs in this area. Yeah, let's call it 355. I'd say, hey, take this up to 355, clear 55. Might start thinking about 400, but probably the crypto news isn't hurting Tesla as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think really the what I'm looking at is there's a big pivot at 353. I mean, that's where I took some profits in my I had two positions on. I had a position on in stock and I have a position on in options. 353 is a big level. So we're just kind of consolidating here. I like the technicals if we can get, I very much like this here if we can get back above 353. I'm still owning some September calls in this. I'm ultimately looking for that to climb back above this, but yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The sales kind of is in the backseat. I think more and more people eventually will come to the conclusion that this is more of a play on robotics and robo taxis. Whether they deliver, of course, you know, we'll see if that comes into play. But that's really what's going on. There's a small company that is also very interesting in China. We continue to hear more and more about this globally, about the possibility of robo taxis. I think that's going to be very big in China as well. There's a company called Pony, right? Very small company, very highly speculative. But there's a lot of these little companies that are involved in automated driving, robo taxis, and that's another name that I would be watching in the space too.
And then what's it? BYDDF? Is that the right? There's uh, ADR from that. That's
Yeah, and
trading.
there was some news from BYD. They were announcing that I believe that they're cutting some prices. So it seems like they've kind of been doing this with Tesla as well, where we see from time to time Tesla cuts prices. But that was the news, and over the weekend that BYD will be slashing some prices.
Okay, just real quick, let's go to some earnings after the close today. Of course, all eyes are on Nvidia later in the week, but let's go to security, cloud security here. Okta trading up ahead of its report in anticipation of a good report. Up 378. The chart looks pretty good. Recent high of the move 127.57. So if you want to wiggle out at the high of the move, boom, you got it right here. You can look at the monthly chart and expectations in two different ways. You can look at it as wow, it's had a nice rally here since it was under $80 to nearly 130. So they better blow it away. But then if you look left instead of right on Okta, way off that all-time high at 294. Any analysis of Okta earnings.
Yeah, I mean, Okta had a great quarter last time around. Let's see. Let me just bring up what they did last quarter. They were up 24% last quarter. So they set the bar pretty darn high. I think the bar is set pretty high as well for all of the cyber names. They've been one of the strongest areas over the last couple months. You also have CrowdStrike, which will be reporting not this week but next week, which will be a huge report for the group. And I thought it was very important that Palo Alto reported last week. Not the best earnings reaction. I didn't think that their numbers were terribly bad, but they did climb back, and the overall group was basically shook it off. So this is a leader. You've got Okta sitting there very close to new highs, and again, that's going to be a tough bar to clear after the move that they've had. But then you've got Zscaler, which is also at new highs this morning. You've got RBRK. Rubric, which is also at new highs this morning. So I did get long some CrowdStrike on Friday. CrowdStrike was a name that I've been watching for the last week or so. And I'm looking for a run into earnings for CrowdStrike. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, this group is super, super hot.
Yeah, next time they have a global outage, just remind me just to close my eyes and buy the dip, okay? On CrowdStrike here. Well, tomorrow, who cares about Dix? I don't know, man. Dix is they have just been punishing Dix for that deal. Back at the lows, the April lows of the move. Abercrombie and Fitch, Macy's, as we get more into retail earnings, but isn't there a little company reporting after the close on Wednesday?
Yeah, slightly. I mean, that's really some of the big news that people are going to be anticipating. Let's see what the percentage move is. I haven't calculated it out, but we can certainly do that for the implied move. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a big. Nvidia seems to be more lately has seemed to be more of a company that is important for the overall group than it is for itself. I'll give you the numbers in just 1 second here. Sorry, 4.9. So looking at the price for the calls, which is about 490, plus the price of the puts, which is about 550, divided by the stock price, which is around 131. So about an 8% move is what they're implying for Nvidia for earnings. So it's a decent move. Let's just look at to see where they've reported last couple quarters. They did move last quarter. They moved down 8.5%. So perhaps the market makers are kind of taking cues off of that. They were down 8.5% last quarter. The quarter before that, they went up 1%. And the quarter before that, they were down 6%. So there's a little bit of bias to the downside for Nvidia. And yeah, I mean, what's your take? What do you think is going to happen here for the price action?
I was just thinking that there's not nearly the hype. I mean, maybe because there's other things going on with tariffs and the Japanese. It seems like they were hyping it for well over a week. I don't know if it's because we're going into the it was the holiday weekend or whatever. But I mean, what we've seen. I mean, look at the expected move. It's a very hard stock to be short. I know they've had some good reports and then popped and then dropped. I believe that's what happened off its last report. But it's just they got to blow it away. They're at the recent high of the move, so it's hard to bet against a stock that's had a move like it has. 140's been a pesky area moving forward. We didn't quite get there the last week. Also, I just look at like the favorable market conditions, right? I mean, right now we're up 79 points until we get another tweet or some more bad news. But let's see. We'll see what Nvidia, and I think they go right after the close, pretty much after the close. I don't have the exact time of what time Nvidia reports, but all eyes will be on Nvidia. We do not. I mean, we don't want to ignore some other stocks here that report CRM, AI, VEV, Lulo, Costco, Marvell, Dell, Alta on Thursday. I mean, there's a lot's going on. Durable good numbers. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but doesn't seem like
I'll
the
give them to
market.
you.
You
So
got them
the
for me?
durable goods number month over month, they were looking for negative 7.8. We got negative 6.3. Durable goods X transportation plus 0.2% versus essentially flat. Capital good orders coming in negative 1.3. So that's a miss on capital goods. They were looking for a negative 0.2%. So a miss there and a beat in terms of the durable goods number. Still negative, but not as negative. And then they did revise the previous number plus 7.6 versus estimated 9.2. So quite a bit of variability there. I don't see a big reaction right now in bonds. Maybe a little bit move down there, but not much. Just a reminder too that you're going to get at 9 o'clock. You're going to get the Case-Shiller home data that comes out on prices. And then probably the most important data of the morning will be at 10 o'clock this morning. You're going to get consumer confidence. So that's a half hour after the open today.
Okay. All right. 8:31 here. We're through the durable good numbers. Let's go
I
nuclear
just
here.
snuck in the background. I want to say hi to everyone here. Christian, how's it going? Just wanted to come in. I was watching Kevin Hassett here too on CNBC, and he says more deals are coming even this week. He said the India deal is close to the finish line. So, from a news anticipation perspective here, we're likely to get more deals this week. Christian, does that just keep your bull thesis going here? Like, when you start seeing, potential for new deals. Obviously, we've had a lot of stocks popping to new highs. This nuclear trade remains hot. Does this keep you going here when you hear deals coming?
I mean, I think it's really just the tone of the rhetoric. Like I haven't been a person that really says we need deals or, I mean, I think that these things will eventually get resolved. I think it's more just about the rhetoric and whether you're dialing up the rhetoric or you're dialing it down. I think eventually you are going to get deals, but I think that some of them are going to take a while. I wouldn't be, surprised if we get to the end of the 90 days and like, let's say that there's deals, maybe there's another deal with India, maybe there's another deal with, another country or two. But I think that these eventually get kicked down the road so that they can be, negotiated properly. It's not easy. And same thing with Japan. Like, I think that it's just going to take a while for some of these things to happen. So my perspective is that it's all about the rhetoric and about whether we're increasing or room for negotiation. And so anyway, that's my take.
You've been watching this nuclear trade here, Christian. It exploded, obviously, basically Thursday night when we got, the Trump news coming that he's going to be looking to nuclear here to power the world. OKLO, huge day on Friday. Pulled back a little bit when the EU tariffs hit on Friday and then just exploded higher. It's up again. NNE was trading higher too, but they announced a convertible offering over the weekend here, and that's weighing on the shares a little bit here. But what are your thoughts here on this nuclear trade?
I mean, this is just we've kind of just been going around and around with some of these momentum names. I mean, this was key information that we got towards the end of last week. Not only just causing the names like Oklo to get going, but all the power names. I got long some CEG on Friday. That's doing very well this morning. I'm still long some GEV. But man, this group and like I think once we get to Nvidia, once they have earnings, like they're going to need to, being that there's been such a big rally in these power names, power and nuclear related names, because GEV and a couple of these names do have nuclear capabilities too, or involved in that trade. But they're going to, what Nvidia says, I think we'll kind of see if they can power, continue to power ahead. But, you know, the nuclear trade, as well as if you look at some of the quantum names too, they're also up
Yeah.
pre-market too. I mean, you really have a risk on continuation this morning. I think that I'm ringing the register in a little bit of these in some of these names that I got long towards the end of last week.
Which
But
ones? Which
What's up?
ones? Which
I
ones are
did
you
take
ringing the
some.
red
I
star?
did take some targets, and I'm long RGTI, and I'm also long some of the CEG, which I took some profits in as well.
Not a bad idea to take some profits into some of these extraordinary moves. 8:35, Joel. 8:35. We got special guests here
Guest
coming.
time, and we got a new guest for you guys. Julie Gillespie from TipRanks. Julie, how you doing on this post Memorial Day rally?
Doing well, doing good this morning. Thanks for having me here, guys.
Okay, all right. Just we know you work over there at TipRanks, doing some YouTube, doing some other stuff for them. But just give us a little bit of your background in the markets.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Canadian, actually, now living down here in the U.S. I started my career in finance up in Canada, one of the biggest banks there. So started off financial advising, then moving into the private banking world with wealth management. So I've always been into the markets up there. Then I moved down to the States and kind of had a little bit of a career pivot with the pandemic. Got into the content creation space, covering the markets. Obviously, there was a lot happening during the pandemic, and that turned into my role at TipRanks. So for the last few years, I've covered pre-market stock news, kind of what's happening, trending stocks, kind of keeping everybody up to date with the markets and how to use our tools alongside that.
Okay, so we know that analyst ratings definitely play a role in this market, right? At certain times, when earnings season kind of tapers off, they might have a little bit of their quiet period, but there's no doubt that analyst ratings, you can take it with a grain of salt. Some are more important than others. Talk about how you look at them, through TipRanks, and perhaps some tips for investors and in looking at analysts and evaluating their performance.
Absolutely. So that is what TipRanks was born out of, basically, was trying to bring more transparency to Wall Street. So our CEO kind of noticed that there would be these price targets and different articles coming out from big firms that sounded reputable, but maybe the tips weren't always so great. And he's like, you see these big names on Wall Street, you're going to trust them, but who should we actually trust? So he came out with our star ranking system, and this actually tracks the analyst performance. So it's picking up every single rating that they're putting out, and not just looking at, are they right? Do they have one good rating and now they're 5 stars? But we look at that success rate, how often they're right, what the actual average return is, and the statistical significance. So meaning that they've been right a lot of times. And so that gave us our star ranking system. And we now have nearly 10,000 Wall Street analysts that we cover here. One thing, a 5-star analyst rating does not mean that they're right 100% of the time. Otherwise, that would be the only crystal ball on Wall Street that we followed. But it lets you know that they are doing better than some of their peers. So if you're coming in and looking at these analyst ratings, it's going to show you their average success rate, plus a whole list of all of the stocks that they cover and the history of those ratings too. So here, if we're looking at a 1-year period, we can see this fellow's had a 67% success rate, average return of 40%. And here's all the stocks he's covered, plus those individual success rates. So like you said, different events in the market will spur some of these ratings. Certainly earnings season. We have Nvidia that's coming up soon this week. So you'll start seeing a lot of analysts weighing in ahead of those earnings reports and kind of giving their predictions of how the stocks are going to perform. Nvidia is well loved by analysts. We compile them all into an average rating. We're always looking at the most recent 3 months. So that way you have, if it's an earnings report or notable piece of news that's come out, the most accurate ratings, and then that average price target. So just in this past week, you can see a lot of 5-star analysts weighing in on Nvidia, giving them price targets with some bullish upside. These are always considered 12-month price targets, so what they think the stock is going to do. And we also link articles where we pulled the rating from, but also that outlines some of their outlook on what they think the stock is going to do. These can be very positive. They can be very negative. I mean, Tesla is one that is always infamously divided among Wall Street. We have a wide range of price targets there, from downsides of 94% to upsides of 47%. But again, you can come in and check out those analyst ratings and see, okay, Dan Ives here has been covering Tesla quite a bit, 213 ratings overall, and has a 60% success rate. 4-star analyst, pretty good return. Maybe you're going to put a bit more weight on those analyst ratings versus someone who's got 1 star and maybe not the best track record. So it kind of helps.
Does that 213 ratings, that every time he does like a price target change or any type of change at all, that would be a rating?
Pretty much. So we sweep all of their releases and everything like that. So definitely if there's a price target change, even if they're just reiterating saying, hey, this big piece of news came out, so we are maintaining our buy rating with this price target. And if we go over, we have daily analyst ratings where you can see all of those happening right away. So sometimes it's an analyst upgrade or downgrade, and we'll see those move the stock a bit if it's a negative or positive sentiment. But sometimes they're just reiterating their price targets, saying, hey, we still are maintaining this outlook.
Just looking here, just a couple more questions here. So the 5-star ranking, is that just by pure performance here, Julie, or do you look at like how wide like the analyst is known? Because obviously Dan Ives, you see him on CNBC all the time. So do you consider that stuff too, or is it just pure by pure performance? Like these are your best?
It is purely data driven. So our rating system has no like human input or anything like that. So there's no swaying there if they're well known online or not. All it has to do with that return, the statistical significance, and the percentage of their success rates. And then the 5-star rating means that they're like the top 20% of those Wall Street analysts as far as they're performing.
Hey, Julie, we're going to get a small company that's reports this week called Nvidia. Can you tell us what some of the analysts are saying, and if there's any kind of, I guess, change? I mean, how much do you see after an earnings report? Do we get a lot of these analysts that all of a sudden change their ratings, or is it something where they're kind of reiterating? How do you kind of see, how does this line up for Nvidia coming into earnings?
Absolutely. So earnings reports are definitely one of the biggest catalysts for these analyst ratings. Leading up to and afterwards, we see a lot of them digesting. One neat thing, we do summarize earning calls in here so you can see the positive or negative sentiment. But you can also see how much the stock has moved following an earnings report. So you can see after these ones, we've had some swings both up and down. So they definitely have a lot of influence there. And when we look at these analyst ratings, if you hover over some of these articles, it'll tell you their actual sentiment and some of the report that you're putting in here. So, this analyst is saying that they're reiterating their buy rating despite restrictions with sales to China. Outlooks remain stable, significant acceleration anticipated in the second half, and that the current valuation appears attractive. And so they expect a modest beat in upcoming earnings. So it'll actually break down the sentiment behind their ratings, so you can kind of see how bullish that they're feeling. And then those price targets obviously letting us know a bit of insight into what they're expecting for the stock to do.
Julie, have you noticed like the tendency of, the analysts like ganging up on a stock one way or another? Like someone makes a move and then someone else makes a move. And then, over the years, two things stand out to me. Like McDonald's in like 2017 or 2018, it was just a love fest, right? And they drove that stock up. More recently, I remember First Solar, that move in First Solar. If you go back and you look at your TipRanks ratings, that move that it had, the plus 300 back in 24, if you look at that, that was almost 100% analyst driven. Do you have any kind of tool that kind of tracks that?
So we do have like our analyst top stocks, and here you can kind of see which sector is picking up the most attention from those top analysts. And here you can see technology is getting the most love. When we talk about stocks getting a lot of momentum, the Magnificent Seven there has dozens and dozens of analyst ratings. So that is one that everybody loves to jump in on. And then we also have our trending stocks page. So if you come to tools, you can see which ones are picking up the most attention. So if we're looking at the best rated in the last 30 days, let's say, it'll show you which stocks have had the most. So Amazon has gotten 42 analyst ratings in the last month, which is a very high volume. You can check out the best, most, or worst rated and stuff. So that's where you can see the ones that are getting a lot of momentum and just that attention from Wall Street, whether it's over 30 days or just in the last 72 hours. A lot of this you'll see aligned with some kind of catalyst, like an earnings report, but sometimes it's just a stock that's getting a lot of exciting attention. And definitely you see analysts kind of start to jump onto those stocks that are seeing momentum and that are crowd favorites, and they're looking for attention.
And I'm not going to mention any names of any guests or any analysts or anything, but you always have like the axe in a stock. You always have the the bears or. A sell rating on Wall Street, that's just so rare, or, maybe get some downgrades and stuff. Obviously, in this incredible bull market that we've had for several years, sell ratings, maybe well timed, have done pretty good. But it just, without mentioning individual names or anything, the bears, the ones with the X, if how are they looked at on TipRanks? So you don't have to bring up any individual
No, for
analyst,
sure.
but that catches people's attention.
Yeah, it definitely does. And a sell position is a pretty strong narrative. We like 90% of the ratings out there are going to be on the buy ratings there. So it is rare that you see someone come out with such a strong opinion as a sell rating. And it can be tough, especially if that stock defies their opinion and continues to go upwards. So when you do see a sell rating, it's certainly worth paying attention to and seeing why are they feeling this way, and does the rest of Wall Street. So like when we do look at some of the worst rated stocks, are analysts all downgrading them, or is it one that's just been a bear for quite a while and stuff? But they are rare, and we do see analysts downgrading to a hold a lot more often than a full-on sell. But it certainly is worth paying attention to when you see that sell rating, but worth digging further and seeing if they've just hated this company forever, or if something has changed and this is a new sell rating coming out.
Hey, Julie, I saw that you brought up UNH, which was a huge stock,
Yeah.
that had traffic last week.
Yeah, when he was talking about analysts kind of, all piling in on a stock, my mind went to UNH here, because it is one that we've seen a lot of reiterations following, obviously, all the news, that CEO transition, the Medicare allegations. So this is one you can see multiple analysts downgrading their ratings to hold and to sell. So we have HSBC coming in with a sell, slashing their price target by over $200 to now a downside. And a lot of other analysts making some pretty drastic changes to those price targets. So we're not talking, a $20 difference. We're talking a couple $100 difference in those price targets. So just in these past weeks, you can see it's dozens, and essentially all of them lowering those price targets, quite a few downgrading those ratings. So that's when I think like you see that momentum, you see all those analysts jumping in, and it kind of shows you a big indication of how the street is feeling on a certain stock when they're all making big changes in that direction.
Gotcha. So is there also something on here that basically says, hey, this is one of the most talked about stocks, or this is the one that has the most rating changes in the last like 48 hours or something?
Yeah, so that would definitely be this trending stocks page where we can come in, and if we want it like the most rated in the last 72 hours, it's going to show you these companies and what they've been picking up and kind of the average coming in. So like Salesforce was one in the last few days that has been trending. And if you come into the analyst forecast here, it'll show you all those recent ratings here, mixes between buys and holds, few price target increases. But yeah, the trending stocks is where you'll find that, or the daily analyst ratings too. If you're wanting to be on that day and stuff, we'll see those coming in live. That's going to be a mix from different analysts there.
One more for you, Julie. Analysts come out, let's say with their upgrade, and they raise their price target to, let's say, XY, and I'm not XYZ because that's a stock now, like to 94. And the stock's traded at 108. Do I just go out and sell? What are they, how do you interpret that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of times they'll have their best case, their kind of middle case, or their worst case. And what we're often picking up is that middle case. Sometimes if they put out that rating and that stock is just seeing momentum, we might see a price target with the downside because it's just already surpassed that price target. and they think that that is the, accurate value that it should have for this next year. So they're sticking with those price targets. But I know it can look confusing sometimes if they have a buy rating, but it has a downside to it. It's typically because that stock has just had momentum and already surpassed it before they could get out with a new price target, or they think it's going to come back down to that, and that's its fair value.
All right. Julie Gillespie joining us from TipRanks, going through analyst ratings, which we know Triple D loves to cover. And great job, Julie. We'll get you back on again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Julie.
Great stuff. I mean, we talk and we trade ratings so much, and it's obviously another tool to just look at here to get a feel for, where these ratings are going. I know where you were going, Joe. Remember AT&T when that got like the 5 upgrades in a row and that like top ticked the stock for like years. You wonder, if the contrarian calls sometimes, when you get ratings and they're all chasing each other and then they're popping. So, I mean, I like the trending tool. So definitely check that out and check Julie out too. She's Julie. If you want to follow her on Twitter or X, TipRanks is Julie TipRanks is her handle. So let's talk ratings here because there was a few notable ones here today. One that I kind of was looking at here, Christian, was BNP Paribas upgrading XYZ to outperform. Reason I'm looking, BNP isn't huge, but XYZ has been in the gutter. It's been sitting here under 60, just waiting for a catalyst, waiting for something. Can a rating be a catalyst, or is this not big enough here, Christian? You see the 60 level I'm looking at? I'm wondering if this thing could break out.
I'll give you
not above the 200. It is above the 200 day. It looks like, or close to it.
It's made a nice recovery from earnings. So my whole thing is if a company has had a bad earnings report or not great, I tend to look at some of the other names in the space. So yes, notable, interesting to see an upgrade because we haven't had one in this group. I kind of like Toast. I'm looking at this one a little bit more. I know
Sure.
XYZ has more of a crypto spin on it right now, which I think is favorable. But I do like the pullback in Toast. Toast had really good earnings. I love pullbacks in uptrends. The stock got up to, sorry to change the subject, but I don't have much on XYZ. 45 bucks is where we kind of got to with Toast. Now it's sitting back at 42. I kind of like Toast here. It's on my watch list for the week.
One more rating here, and then we're going to look at some other stuff. Wingstop. This got to be a Christian Fromhertz stock. I'm looking at this thing, coming back up here. Actually, it's way off all-time highs, but pretty good for January. Since January, it's been up significantly here. Truist upgrading it to outperform. They are saying that they expect same-store sales to take off again after soft landing. So I guess they're saying there's been a soft landing in the economy and that everybody's going to be hungry for wings here. WING. Is this on the Christian Fromhertz watch list?
Not on the watch list for this week, but it did have a strong. I mean, this one had a really nice earnings quarter. It surprised to the upside. I think this has been a tough group. I mean, what do you think about the whole restaurant group? I know McDonald's has kind of been an outperformer here as well.
Yeah.
But what do you think in terms of this group? Any names that you've really liked in the rest? I think I've found that the restaurant group has gotten really tough. For a while it was Cava that was doing well.
Yeah.
There's a couple other names in there, but I just have gotten to the point where this group has become challenged. But I like the wing chart. I do.
Yeah, it's hit and miss. Like wings come back, McDonald's held up. The Cava chart's awful. I mean, CAVA was $140 in February. It's 83, and it's been leaking here for about a week and a half here now. Not far from, getting down near the April lows. So, I mean, obviously valuation may be an issue here as well. But, this has always been, a difficult group where it's been, if you're a stock picker, there is definitely been outperformers in restaurants for forever. But maybe it's a little bit, people looking and saying, well, economy, I don't know where we're going, not going to eat out quite as much. Maybe, there's a trade down effect here. Lots to consider, in restaurants too. I know where you want to go, though. You want to talk this CoreWeave, CRWV, because this stock's been unbelievable. We do get Barclays downgrading the stock here today to equal weight. Now, again, stock's up, doesn't seem to care about the downgrade, raising the price target up to $100. So they're basically going to neutral. But I mean, this stock has just been running and running and running. It seems like forever, at least, especially since, it was disclosed that Nvidia's got the position, which the market should have known anyways. But we were $116 a couple days ago, gets the big sell-off down to under $100 here again. What are your thoughts here? Is this broken chart now with the big red candle had, or just gonna, looking to recover and maybe start moving here again? CRWV, Christian.
Well, yeah, I thought that this was an interesting one. It's every once in a while you get one of these downgrades where the analyst is like, the stock's gone up too much, so we're gonna bring in our, it's gone up too far too fast, and we're bringing in our on our rating, but they still give it like $100 price target, which I mean, even around here, I think that's still kind of lofty considering. Even though it's trading above there right now, but I traded this one. I'm out of it. I don't have any position on it now. I would be watching for some consolidation. Maybe you get a little bit of that with Wednesday. And again, I tend to think that there's going to be more implications for other names, a lot of names in AI, depending on what Nvidia says for earnings. I feel like the reaction to Nvidia might be secondary. It might be more important because there's such a big there's such a big name for AI. So I think that will be the big thing to watch, which I know we'll talk more about Nvidia as we get closer to the report.
Yeah, and I mean, Nvidia is going to move a couple other stocks that are going to report this week too. We're going to get Dell on Thursday, and obviously, with data servers, looking at that, SMCI will move off the Nvidia report here as well. I want to quickly just get Christian your thoughts here on DELL. This has had an incredible comeback. It was $66 back, on April when everything was just, ridiculously oversold. The stock's 115, so we quietly went up like 80% here in the course of the last month and a half. Has gone too far now for Dell, or is this, just, if you take it longer term, you're still way off where it was $179 when it was back, in 2024, mid 2024. So we're still way off the 52 or the all-time highs, but significantly off the 52-week low here. Thoughts on Dell as it's going to report Thursday night?
I'm trying to remember what the news that they had last week. There was some positive news. I was looking at it. I remember I was looking at it last week thinking it could kind of make that start to, it was consolidating for about a week. And I was thinking that maybe it's going to start to take that next leg higher, but maybe it kind of stalled because people know that it does have earnings coming up in the name. Last 2 quarters have not been very good for Dell. Down 4.7% last quarter. The quarter before that, down 12%. So maybe they're going to kind of change the tone here a little bit. And I would be looking for upside, I think, in Dell. Because I think that sometimes these companies take note of when they've had 2 bad quarters or 2 bad reactions. So I would be looking for more upside in Dell.
What about SMCI? This is such an interesting story because it was the darling of 2024, and then we didn't know there's fraud involved. What's going on? Account or auditor quits. Then they bring in they bring in BDO. And then we don't hear too much, but the stock, is still kind of just hanging out here. I mean, way off its all-time highs, but off the lows from last week. And this is going to move significantly off of Nvidia's report as well. SMCI, obviously, big, deals with Dell. What are your thoughts here, SMCI, as it sets up? They've already reported, but, coming into the Nvidia report here, thoughts on SMCI?
I don't, unfortunately, it's not one that I've been trading.
You've been laying off this one? You were trading it for a long time, though, SMCI. You're getting down dirty a little while ago.
Not in probably about 2 years.
2 years
for SMCI. I don't know, like a year or two. Yeah. Probably going back to 2020.
Once they break the 200-day moving average, you ain't interested anymore.
Yeah, I mean, once there's accounting issues in a name, so sorry, not 2 years. I was trading it when it was trending very nicely. But once you have accounting issues, I stay away. I think there's a number of other companies like Dell, like VRT, that you can get involved. I just think that there's better plays in it. I get the attraction that it made when it sold off, people thinking it's cheap, but I really just didn't partake too much in this one.
Okay, final thoughts here as we go into a shortened trading week. We set up going to Nvidia. Final thoughts, Christian, just to set us up for the day.
Yeah, I mean, my trading take is always when you have a gap up is to lighten up. gap up and lighten up. So I always sell into these gap ups, and then I kind of watch to see what happens. So I've been trimming a little bit in some of my holdings from last week. I sold some CrowdStrike. I sold some CEG. I also have GEV in, which I've been trimming. So I've been doing trimming along the way, but I'll always sell into gap ups, and then we can kind of watch to see what we do. I want to see, a couple things from last week that I have my eye on is whether the indices can retake their 5-day moving average. I think that's important for the short-term trend. Also, breadth really declined last week. So that's my number 2 thing, to see if breadth can return, because it was, like I said, it really took a foot off the accelerator in terms of what we've seen over the last few weeks. It was one of the worst breadth weeks probably in about 3 weeks. So I want to see if that is going to get better, and that will kind of really determine what I want to do for this week, other than taking profits into the gap up.
Okay.
Joel,
Boyd,
what are
we
your
got a
final
big-
thoughts?
I mean, if you were buying on Friday morning, this is not investment advice, but selling today might not be a bad idea. The most
How did
important thing
S&P
for me
handle?
would be to get through that pre-market high, 59.1250. We've already exceeded our average daily range. Maybe we'll go higher Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, but for me, a little bit too much, too fast. I just don't like these kind of moves. I like a break and then a consolidation and then a move higher, then a little consolidation. This kind of action, to me, it's good, it's up, but it's not sustainable long-term price action. So that's it. I just wanted to say, if you haven't joined us in the STN room, the discount code is up there. We'll keep that up there for a little bit longer. If you want to talk long-term investing, Jim Tassoni coming on at 10 a.m. today. Tomorrow morning, Sahak Manuelian, he's the managing director over there at Wedbush Securities for Equities. He'll be joining us, and tomorrow on STN, we'll be talking to Mark Chaikin. Folks, thanks for joining us. Triple play here with Triple D on Pre-Market Prep.